October 25, 1944, off Samar in the Philippine Sea. Aboard the USS Enterprise, gunner's mate Tommy Rodriguez mans his 40mm Bofors. The general quarters alarm screams. Above, the sky fills with the shriek of diving Japanese aircraft, among the first organized kamikaze attacks. A Yokosuka D-4Y Judy plunges toward the fleet at over 400 miles per hour. Rodriguez swings his gun, peering through his simple ring sight. He fires. His tracers streak harmlessly behind the accelerating bomber. The problem is mathematical. His sight shows where the target is, not where it will be. All around him, the fleet's desperate anti-aircraft fire paints the sky with futile explosions. The statistics are damning. Early in the war, U.S. naval anti-aircraft hit rates were a catastrophic 3% or less. Now, facing pilots who seek death, traditional defense is obsolete. But on this ship, unknown to Rodriguez, is a secret weapon. A revolutionary gunsight, invented not by a weapons contractor, but a civilian professor. A device that can calculate the future in a split second. Hitting a fast-moving target is a geometry puzzle. A shell takes time to travel. The target moves during that flight. The gunner must aim at empty space, leading the target. With planes diving at 400 miles per hour, the margin for error is zero. The U.S. Navy knew this. Their solution was massive, room-sized mechanical computers, the Mark 37 Fire Control Director. It was brilliant for long-range shots, but too slow and complex for close-range rapid attacks. It couldn't be put on every gun. The Bureau of Ordnance was stuck. Experts believed improving human gunnery was the only answer, but human reflexes have limits. In early Pacific battles, sailors watched Japanese bombers attack with near impunity. The failure rate was unacceptable. As the kamikaze threat emerged in late 1944, the need for a solution became desperate. A new kind of thinking was required, not bigger computers, but smarter, simpler tools for the individual gunner. The savior was Dr. Charles Stark "Doc" Draper, a brilliant, eccentric MIT professor specializing in gyroscopes, spinning wheels that maintain orientation. In 1940, during a lunch conversation about the difficulty of aerial gunnery, Draper had a revelation. If a gyroscope could measure how fast a gunner was swinging his weapon to track a target, it could automatically calculate the lead angle. The gunner would just keep the target in the crosshairs. The gyroscope would offset the aim perfectly. It was a stroke of genius. Augment the man, don't replace him. While Navy engineers built complex computers, Draper sketched his idea on napkins. He envisioned a device small enough to fit on any gun, requiring no external power. He didn't ask for permission. He went to his basement lab and started building. His only credential was that he didn't know it was supposed to be impossible. In his MIT instrumentation laboratory, Draper worked nights. His first prototype was housed in a crude metal box the size of a shoebox. Inside, a tiny gyroscope spun at 24,000 RPM. He attached it to a .22 caliber rifle. For a test target, he rigged a swinging pendulum. The first shots missed. For hours he adjusted, fired, and adjusted again. The breakthrough came near midnight. He tracked the moving target, the gyroscope humming. He fired. The bullet struck dead center. His device had automatically solved the lead calculation. He demonstrated it to the Sperry Gyroscope Company. Engineers admired the principle, but doubted its military application. Initial presentations to Navy officials in Washington were met with scorn. Traditionalists laughed at the spinning toy. They were invested in million-dollar mechanical systems. Draper's invention needed a champion within the Navy itself to survive bureaucratic rejection. The champion was Lieutenant Commander Marion B. Mike Murphy of the Bureau of Ordnance's Fire Control Section. He saw past the crude prototype to its revolutionary potential. In 1941, he arranged a decisive test at the Naval Proving Ground in Dahlgren, Virginia. Before skeptical admirals and rival engineers, Draper mounted his sight on a machine gun. A target plane sped past on a towed sled. Draper fired. Direct hit. He repeated the feat. The skepticism turned to stunned silence. The Navy placed an order for 50 experimental units designated the Mark 14 Mod 0 gyroscopic gunsight. The project was alive. The sight was ingeniously simple. A gunner peered into an eyepiece with a glowing reticle. As he tracked a target, gyroscopes measured the turn rate and automatically moved the reticle to show the exact aim point. It was called a lead computing sight. The Mark 14 wasn't perfect out of the box. Early units had issues with sealing and durability in salt air, but its core principle proved devastatingly effective in training. Gunners loved it. They reported, "You just put the pip on the target and hold the trigger. The sight does the work." By 1943, mass production began. The sights were installed on 20mm Oerlikon and 40mm Bofors guns across the fleet. Their first major combat test came during the brutal air battles over the Pacific Island chains. Gunners could now confidently track and hit fast-moving dive bombers like the Aichi D-3A Val. While it didn't make every gunner a crack shot, it dramatically raised the fleet's average accuracy. It gave sailors a fighting chance against pilots willing to die. The stage was set for its ultimate test against the kamikaze. Back to October 25, 1944. Now, Tommy Rodriguez on the Enterprise has a Mark 14 on his Bofors. As a kamikaze dives, he looks through the eyepiece. A glowing pipper appears. He simply keeps the pipper on the screaming plane. The gyroscopes calculate the lead. He fires. This time, the shells intercept the target in a fireball. The sight transformed defense. It didn't stop every attack, but it multiplied the fleet's killing power. Post-war analysis credited the Mark 14, along with the proximity fuse and improved radar, as a key reason the kamikaze campaign failed to halt the American advance. Japanese pilots noted the frightening new accuracy of American flak. For the sailor, it changed psychology. From praying shots would connect to knowing they could. By war's end, over 85,000 Mark 14 gun sights had been built. Dr. Draper received the Navy's Distinguished Public Service Award, but shunned public fame. He returned to MIT. The gyroscopic principles pioneered in the Mark 14 became the foundation for inertial navigation. Draper's later work guided Polaris submarines and the Apollo spacecraft to the moon. The pipper in the Mark 14 evolved into the modern fighter jet's head-up display. His legacy is a lesson in innovation, a radical solution from an outsider championed by a visionary mid-level officer, overcame institutional inertia. It saved countless lives and proved that the simplest idea, helping the sailor see the future, could be the most revolutionary.